Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, coming to you as always from the Retro Wrestling Archive in beautiful Gadsden, Alabama, along with producer Smokey working behind the scenes. But now join me in welcoming my co-host. First, he's BT's all-time favorite podcaster. You know who it is, Josh Briley of P3 Radio. Josh, what's up, buddy?
Man, Sunday morning coming down, Gene. It's coming down on me, man. We were just chatting it up right before the show. I just now crawled out of bed almost. I'm trying to power up, man. I'm trying to get that power going. How you doing?
Oh man, this is one of those EPW weekends. So I had to drive in from Mississippi late last night, and got into bed about 2 or 3 o'clock. I don't know what it was at this point, and drug out of bed. But I usually get fired up. Once we get about 10 minutes into these things, I'll get my second wind. But before we get going, we got to bring on the other co-host, I guess I should say. And for the second week in a row, your boy is absent. Richard Mulligan off on assignment, as always. So, you know how that goes. When Richard Mulligan's not here, we welcome the owner, founder, and president of STSpod.club. Spoiler alert, Brian Trammell.
Hey, I'm over here getting bucked, man. I've been up since 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go, folks. Brother Gene, Brother Josh. And as you said, my favorite podcast host and Josh there. And Gene, you're my best friend. I have went through 70 matches in the last 18 days. So just let you know, G1 is still alive. I haven't watched the final yet, but I know who won. And that's what happens when you get on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and look at the wrestling stuff. You get spoiled, which is stupid me. But as always, I'm sponsored this week by Furbuster, if you know what I mean. So there you go. I'm fired up and ready to go. I'm not going to spoil it, but let me just say this was a damn good show.
I agree, but we'll get there. Let's February 9th, 1991 episode of USWA Championship Wrestling. We start things off a little different this week as Dave is not alone. He is joined at the booth by Michael St. John. I always enjoyed Michael St. John down here, or right here where I'm currently at, but in Mississippi rather. Michael was the host of the arena match version of CWA that aired every Saturday at noon. That, of course, was a week behind. So, I'm sorry, Sunday at noon. Because Saturday morning, I'd watch the live WMC. And then Sunday at noon, the Michael St. John version would come on where it would have clips from the studio of the previous week's show along with matches from the Mid-South Coliseum from the week before that, usually. So, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think of Michael St. John?
It was always comforting to me to see him out there because, it's not like he was a stranger, because, like, as you mentioned, those shows would show like on, I think it was Saturday night here in Jackson, and same deal. It was like a comforting face, He was a great announcer, in my opinion.
I got to agree with Josh. There's a couple of funny comments he had I'm going to talk about. But other than that, just think about it is we've been hearing him do the Coliseum clips. Fun to have him on here. I don't think I ever watched that show that y'all are talking about. I don't think I was ever privy to that show, even trading tapes or anything, because I was trading tapes big time in 1990. So in 1991, at this time I was at this time of the show, I was in my last year of college. So I was going to graduate in May, and I was still trading tapes. Had a whole bedroom the floor was full of tapes in numerical order. So in case someone sent me a donation for one or two, I was able to send it along and be able to record it real quick. So
nice. Well, before the match gets going, the opening match, I should say, Dave Brown makes mention that Jamie Dundee is going to be the referee, as it's been decided for him, I guess, that he's not ready to be a wrestler, so he's going to try his hand at refereeing. And considering the only other time we've seen him reffing resulted in the huge clusterfuck that got the tag team titles held up, I don't have high hopes for this Jamie Dundee referee experiment, but we'll see how things go as we have our opening match today. And on paper, it sounds like a good one. Dr. Tom Pritchard with Uptown Bruno taking on Jerry Lynn. And, 1991, that's a completely different match than that match would have been 10 years later or even 5 years later, really. What did you guys think about this opener before we get into kind of the main running thing through the middle of it without coming out and saying it?
I mean, honestly, nothing really stood out to me. I mean, it wasn't a horrible match, but I don't know. It felt like it was.
Did Josh just freeze on us?
No, I'm still here.
All right.
Yeah. Did it freeze on you, BT, when he said not a horrible match?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started buffering. I guess it was my internet connection. Well, either way, it wasn't a horrible match, but like I said, it seemed like it was just setting up the ref stuff because more than once, Jamie's distracted. He's over here. He's over there. He's not looking in the place that he should be looking. And it seemed that kind of overshadowed the match in a way.
I agree.
It was the story.
That was what it was going to be, like the story. I looking at these two guys, I always know Dr. Tom is so good, but he is so smooth, man. He is just so good. Even at this, at this stage of his career, I don't really know how many years he's been doing it, but man, he's just so smooth.
By 91, he's pretty close to 10 years in almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jerry Lynn would go on to be Jerry Lynn, but he wasn't quite there yet. But yeah, this match served one purpose, and that was to build this story with Jamie Dundee as the referee. Clearly not doing his job, clearly even though initially the first thing he does in this match is he catches Dr. Tom. If you're watching the video, there's a little screenshot of it. He catches Dr. Tom's arm and prevents him from using a fist early in the match. But as things rock on, we start realizing that I think he's leaning a little more towards Dr. Tom's side than he is Jerry Lynn. And after a match full of these, kind of like you say, these incidences where he's just not in the right spot at the right time, he looks away at the wrong time, he finally gets flattened with a ref bump, and then that allows Pritchard to get his feet up on the ropes. Jamie doesn't see it, and Dr. Tom gets the win. From there, we go to a video recap of the tag team title change and all the chaos that ensued that we kind of discussed here, last week. But let's see. Let's take a look at some highlights of all that. This is a pretty interesting scenario how all this played out. And, of course, in the end, it led to new tag team champions, the Fabulous Ones leaving town, and the re-debut of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Lawler back into the action. All four men in there. Jarrett working on Kern while Lawler works on Stan Lane. Lawler fires Lane into the ropes. Shoulder block, puts both men down, and Jim Cornette is handing something to Stan Lane. I don't know what he's got. Cornette hit. It's powder. And Fargo just knocked the powder back into Stan Lane's face. Dundee nails Cornette. Dundee has Cornette by the necktie, firing away on him. But Stan Lane has the tennis racket. He's going to hit Fargo, and Kern stops him. Kern said, "You're not laying a finger on Jackie, man. He's the one that put us together." Jarrett with a drop kick. They both go together. Fargo is counting three. And the Fabulous Ones have lost this match to Jarrett and Lawler. Fargo saw it. Kicked the powder up. Well, look at that. Out of nowhere, it's Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Comes out of the crowd. Jumps Jerry Lawler, Jeff Jarrett, and Bill Dundee. What in the world? I thought he was out of here. I thought the Fabs had collected the bounty. I thought he was out of here. I think everyone here is shocked, and no one more so than Lawler, Dundee, and Jarrett.
Hot stuff Eddie Gilbert out of the crowd. Coming in here, jumps all of them. Foul drives Lawler, trying to collect the bounty. Says I've had enough. Fires off on Eddie Gilbert. Sends in another right. Going to work on Hot Stuff. Sends him outside the ring. Lawler in behind him, firing away as they go down into the crowd.
Lawler back up in the stands. Lawler never made it back to the dressing room. They're holding him. Here comes Gilbert. Gilbert's got fire. Gilbert's just burned Lawler.
My goodness. So we'll get to that end shot there, but a couple of notes before that. Number one, how fun would it have been if they could have kept the Fabs around for maybe, another month, and we could have seen a feud between Steve Keirn and Stan Lane before they leave town, because the Fabulous Ones don't exist after this. They go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, Keirn ends up in the WWF as Skinner, and Stan and Cornette kind of roamed around. It was in Global. Eventually, they land in Smoky Mountain, towards the end of this year, beginning of the next. So, I don't know. It would have been fun to finally see Stan and Steve, because it looks like what we were about to get there when he went to swing the racket on Jackie, and Steve stopped him, and then, of course, that went into the finish. And I also want to say, if you don't think that Jamie Dundee is a very good referee, well, by God, Jackie Fargo is just as bad. That man can't do a count to save his life. If you see a replay of every count of a match that he refereed, the count is always wonky. Like half the time, he'll count to like 4.
That Kurt Hennig, the Kurt Hennig match where Lawler wins the belt, it's 4, yeah.
But I don't know. That just really stood out to me. It's like, God dang, y'all teach Jackie how to count a fall if you're going to have him be in these big matches. What'd y'all think about all them shenanigans there?
I mean, I liked it, but I remember even as a kid, I kind of got confused, because you're right. Like, that did seem that they were, Stan and Steve were fixing to go at each other. And then it wasn't just a couple minutes later, they were helping Eddie Gilbert beat Jerry Lawler up. So that's always kind of like, I get it, but that's still a little weird, because if they're at each other's throats, then why are they cooperating? But they were gone after this, so I didn't really just question it, as a child. But even just watching it back, it was just I remembered being that, like, oh shit, I forgot about that. But it was pretty awesome, and it's almost like they have to get the hooks in Eddie Gilbert and Lawler going again, get that going, because the end of the road is here for all the other shit.
I liked it a lot. Awesome fireball there. Fargo always trips me up when he doesn't have the blonde hair. When he's to his natural color. I look at the special referee and I'm like, who the hell is that, kind of thing? Cornette hit Jackie with the racket and Jackie no-showed it. I thought that was funny. I wrote that down. And then was that Randy Hales with Michael St. John?
On the commentary?
Uh-huh.
I didn't notice. I thought it was the ones that's been being that either David Webb or David Jett.
Might be. I was there was an extra voice there that I didn't know, and it kind of sounded like Randy, so I don't know.
I don't know. Josh would have picked up on Randy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's probably just wishful thinking.
Probably is. Yeah, that's it. And I did watch it in Jonesboro, so it's a possibility that Randy's ghost came through here, and the ghost of Randy Hales. Whatever happened to him anyway?
Who?
Randy. Whatever.
I get it. That's... Anyway, in the next segment, we're going to try to get some explanation on this, and they show us an unedited dressing room promo. Now, I don't know the purpose of this, if it was just they didn't have time to edit it, or they felt for some reason not editing it added something to it.
I think they just want to say Max Andrews a couple more times. So
my God, they shoehorn. That's a name we have not heard on this show yet in 1991, and he got shoehorned into this show at least, I don't know, half a dozen times or more. Yep. Well, more than that, because Jamie said his name coming up in a promo numerous times. So we'll get there. But anyway, the gist of this one is they found Lawler in a dressing room, and he's getting doctored up from getting burned. And, Lawler is trying to piece some of this together because, kind of back to what Josh was saying a couple minutes ago, you're like, now, wait a minute. Eddie's helping the Fabs, even though the Fabs have been claiming they ran him out of town this whole time. What is all this? So Lawler, kind of accuses Gilbert, Cornette, and the Fabs of basically teaming up to pull a scam on Terry Funk to get that money away from him. And that, they've been working together this whole time, which we know isn't true, but it's a good way to tie up some loose ends and explain a few things that otherwise you just have to kind of ignore and just hope nobody questions. So eventually Gilbert tries to storm in during this, and he's pissed and he's yelling, and Lawler's yelling. They're trying to get each other in this little dressing room. And man, it's just, to me, it's just classic Memphis. This is over the years, you've seen these kind of things to really, put over how heated these guys are and how this whole feud's getting out of control. And so that's where we go on that. We're going to hear from Lawler again in a little bit. But before we get there, up next, we've got the debut of flamboyant Eric Embry. And since this is going to be the first match of Eric Embry's we're going to see here on the show, I thought we would actually watch this one. It's not very long, so pull this up here.
Eric Embry. Well, I tell you what, this guy's something else.
He is, and I tell you, he is the quote-unquote...
So what do you guys think of Eric Embry? Because I find that he's somebody that people either really like or they really can't stand, and there's not a lot of middle ground with him.
Well, I mean, I've said this on the 93 show. I mean, and I got so excited seeing him show up. Eric Embry is like one of my top 5 favorite heels all time. Like,
oh wow,
this show, I felt like, the scene in A Space Odyssey 2001, whenever the monkeys discover the monolith, and then he's just banging around with the bone, and he's like, holy shit, I could bash these motherfuckers. It's the dawn of man. Well, this was like the dawn of me being super obsessed with Memphis wrestling. Like,
oh wow,
all up in the fields with this show, dude. I'm so excited. It was so awesome.
Hey, I always liked Embry. I thought he was a hell of a heel. And I think I've talked about this before about the kayfabe sheets or the dirt sheets actually influenced me. But they gave Embry hell, after a long run in USWA and everything, and with all he bled a lot, so there was a lot of criticism about that. But overall, I just always was a huge Eric Embry fan. I thought he was, I thought he was decent to, as you could tell, got good punches, good mechanics, but just made just a heel that you just wanted to punch in the face. I mean, really, legit, you wanted to hit.
He comes across as like super believable because, I mean, like, look at him, he's just like some asshole, in real life, but he was really good at convincing you that he was, a super, super prick.
By the way, he's wrestling Cody Michaels here. Jamie Dundee's the referee again, and hasn't been a big factor up to now. Embry's pretty much controlled things against Cody Michaels.
I thought it was pretty cool that, he uses he uses the flying headbutt as a finish. I don't think we see that again.
No. So Eric Embry, Cody Michaels down. Eric Embry hits him with a flying headbutt. He covers him, but Cody Michaels has his foot on the ropes. But Jamie Dundee runs between Cody and the ropes, knocking his foot off, and then makes the 3 count. So once again, even though it wasn't something that was played out consistently through the match, in the end, he blatantly knocked Cody Michaels' foot off the ropes there. So we can definitely see where this is headed with referee Jamie Dundee. But yeah, I like Eric Embry as a heel. You know, a lot of the criticism of him as far as smart fans go is, you know, in his time booking, he would always put himself in the top heel role, which that's understandable because he's a top heel. But now he'd oftentimes book himself in the top babyface role. And when he does that down in world class, you're talking about a territory where they've always looked up to the Von Erichs and Chris Adams and these guys that are, you know, typically have great physiques. And, you know, now all of a sudden, Eric Embry, who's been a shit heel for years, is suddenly our top babyface savior to save, you know, the company in that big feud with, you know, Skandar Akbar and everything. And I do think that's a bit of a stretch. And at some point here in Memphis, you'll see him try to be a babyface, and that's not the move at all. But for right now, we're going to enjoy heel Eric Embry and see where this goes. Next up, Jerry Lawler comes out, and I don't know if you guys feel this way or not, but it really hit me after he's been out there for less than a minute. You know, you never see Jerry Lawler in a suit because this looked so out of place.
Yep.
I like, it's not something I've ever really thought much about, but as he's standing there, I was like, God, Lawler looks odd in a suit. Like, what are we doing? But you know, Lawler comes out and he reiterates, you know, the big scam that the Fabs had collaborated with Eddie Gilbert on. And, you know, he says, Eddie Gilbert's like a little yapping dog that bites at your heels and then runs away. So obviously Eddie doesn't take kindly to that. He comes out and we end up in a brawl that takes 15 people to break this thing up. They're both in their suits. So I guess they just decided both these guys needed to be in suits to make this thing work. And that's why Jerry Lawler looks like he just, you know, came from closing a real estate deal, or
like he got deposed and he had to show up.
Your Honor, I got to go down to TV5 real quick. I'll be back.
I said, I put in my comments, he's wearing his Sunday's best. So Sunday best right there with Jerry the King.
So him and Gilbert have a nice little brawl here. Like I say, we break it up and then we go to a commercial break. So I thought, you know what? That's fitting. How about we too go to a commercial break right now, and then we'll return with more 1991 USWA.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Pro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Pro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise, this team does it all. and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling. Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, before we get anywhere, who was the guy that was backstage doing the interviews with Lawler and Gilbert?
That was David Webb. That's the voice you were hearing that I think you might
All
have
right. Yeah. I couldn't place who that was, so I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, I forgot until I saw this. Like, dang, both of the KEW announcers at one point worked for USWA, which I did not remember that piece of trivia until I actually heard, David Jett on commentary a couple weeks. Because at first when you hear David Jett, you think it's Michael St. John.
Right.
But it's not. I get people messaging me on the Facebook and everything all the time about, how they didn't see these shows in real time. They're just now getting to see USWA for the first time, and they're having fun watching the shows and then listening and getting some background and, our opinions on things. And so I'm guessing if a lot of the people or a certain chunk of our audience is seeing this for the first time, they may be a little surprised at who we're about to see next. I don't know if everybody realizes that this man came through Memphis, but let's hear a little promo and see how different the 1991 version of this guy sounds compared to, say, maybe the 1997 or 8 version.
Stunning Steve Austin, who is... See if we can get Steve over here. Steve, if you don't mind, Steve and Jeannie is with him. If we can get him over here for just a moment. This man has been named Rookie of the Year by Professional Wrestling Illustrated. That's what Jeff Jarrett was named Rookie of the Year some time ago, and you have just been named Rookie of the Year.
Exactly. I am the Rookie of the Year for 1990, and things have been going real well for me and Jeannie. But what I want to talk about, the only reason I am here today, the only reason I am in the Mid-South is because of that Southern title that Jeff Jarrett's got around his waist. Now, I think Jeff Jarrett is one heck of a wrestler. He's a great athlete. But when you look at Stunning Steve Austin, you see a man with the tools to do it all. I've done a lot in the short time that I've been in the sport, and I want people to start looking at me as being the greatest wrestler ever. And I don't think I'll have any problem getting that belt from Jeff Jarrett.
Well, it's a tough belt to get. It's a tough belt to hold. So,
Well, let me tell you something. Stunning Steve Austin, he's the greatest, he's awesome, and you're fixing to see him in action right now.
Exactly, so why don't I just start the match right now?
All right.
You like that?
Let's do that. Steve Austin, Stunning Steve.
Stunning Steve with Jeannie Clark, who eventually, when he takes her with him to WCW, would become Lady Blossom. But this is their debut on Memphis television here. Going to be taking on Uncle Danny, Nightmare Danny Davis here. When Austin wrapped up that promo, he went straight in the ring and attacked Uncle Danny right at the start. Of course, our referee once again is Jamie Dundee, because apparently that's the only ref we have. With the shenanigans he's pulled so far, like, all right, we're just going to keep letting him ref. But here he is. Before we get to the match itself, what do you guys think about the 1991 presentation of Stunning Steve Austin, and remembering back to then? Did you think much of him? Sir, I'm not going to ask the question. Nobody would have predicted that the guy we just saw was going to be what he became. But I did always think that maybe he would, in more of a Ric Flair type role, would probably, ascend to a certain level of accomplishments. But I didn't think he would be what he is. But what do you guys think of this promo and him and this whole presentation of Stunning Steve?
I absolutely loved it, man. Like, I always did look at Steve Austin like he was, something. Like, he came in and immediately, he was plugged into the Southern title. And usually that don't happen, just somebody just walking in. So it's obvious they saw something. I mean, he comparable to a lot of other people in the territory, like, I mean, I shouldn't say that because Chris Walker and Firebreaker Chip and all that, but like usually Austin would be the best built guy there, but I don't guess he is right now. But Yeah, he always kind of just seemed like he was always at least on the Jeff Jarrett level while he's there.
I really, this was. I wrote down Austin's first Memphis appearance. I was assuming I didn't actually go back and look. I loved it. I thought he looked good. He's with the long blonde hair. I like him, and he's in the ring with Uncle Danny, knowing it's going to be a solid match. Steve Austin was, to me, not the greatest wrestler ever, but was always over, and I always got into his moves, and it was all about the charisma. And being able to talk on the microphone, and he doesn't. And like Josh said about his body, he would have probably been the best one there if it wouldn't have been for the other two guys. And also, just on the microphone, he's just a natural for me.
Yeah. Well, he was a student of Chris Adams Wrestling School, and he was the standout. Everybody who was around world class at the time has some kind of story where either they were watching a training class or, they witnessed him and just knew that he was going to be this huge star. But the thing about him is, once they decided he was ready to start, they did this angle where Chris Adams and his new wife, Tony Adams, was going to feud with his student, Steve Austin, and his ex-wife, Jeannie. And that was a huge money drawing angle for World Class. Like, a lot of people give that angle credit for saving the company at one point because they really didn't have anything that was drawing. And this feud, word spread around Dallas like this freaking guy, he's down there, he's fighting the guy that trained him. We love Chris Adams, and he's parading his ex-wife out there to fight with his current wife. Like, that's some Jerry Springer type shit right there. And I guess that struck a chord with people. So I guess you could say, Steve Austin was drawing money and selling tickets from the very beginning of his career. So that's not something, a lot of guys have to work, a few years before they start getting anything like that. And he kind of came in as part of the main angle right out of the gate. But I think he showed very early that he was capable of holding his own and carrying his end of it. And I have to say, I got excited when I realized he was going to be wrestling Danny Davis here. I thought, oh, shit, this ought to be a good match.
I did, too.
And it was. But we've got the Jamie Dundee angle here. But, of course, before he would have to just kind of look over here or look down, look at his shoe. Well, now he's got something to look at. Every time he doesn't need to see some cheating that Steve Austin's doing, he gets and talks to Jeannie on the outside. And I think everybody's like, okay, well, yeah, what else is he going to do? But good match here, and he misses just multiple. Danny Davis has Steve Austin pinned multiple times, and Jamie's not. Jamie's over there talking to Jeannie, and Uncle Danny's getting pretty heated about it towards the end here. And I don't know. I thought this was the best use of the Jamie Dundee thing. If they had another referee there, I think maybe we didn't have to have him in every match. But this was a good debut for Steve Austin. It was a good, straw that broke the camel's back here with Jamie being a ref. What did you guys think of the match itself?
I thought it was pretty cool because, it was back and forth, and, Steve Austin was a huge guy, physically comparable to even Uncle Danny at this time. And, even with that said, it was like, like you said, Gene, he got the pin multiple times. And Dave, even I remember he said he had him down for about a 15 count, and he did a sunset flip. He got the nightmare neck breaker on him, which is the finish. And I mean, he's over there counting himself. So it kind of didn't just beat Uncle Danny to death in a sense of, well, you're not going to get a win and this and that. And, like it kind of showed that he was still a contender, despite what Memo might think.
Yeah, I agree. It was exactly. I like the finish because we didn't hurt Danny at all. So that was the main thing I said, great finish, because it's not hurting the Nightmare.
Oh yeah, it was perfect because, like I say, it doesn't hurt. Not only does it not hurt Danny Davis, but it puts a ton of heat on both Austin and Jamie.
And we have the story of the referee, which we're going to get
exactly
in just a second too. So.
It tells the story we want to tell, and this was so just absolutely flagrant. Eddie Marlin storms out, and he
man.
fires Jamie on the spot. He said, "You weren't ready to wrestle. You weren't ready to referee." And well, let's just take a look at some of the verbiage here. This isn't the beginning of it. This is once Daddy, as Jamie calls him at one point in this, gets involved.
I couldn't book you to wrestle because you wasn't ready. So it's quite obvious I'm not going to be able to use you to referee because you don't have your mind on your business.
So what are you saying? That I'm fired or something? Are you firing me? That I'm not refereeing no more, you're firing me?
That's right.
Well, you can't fire me. This is not Eddie Marlin's wrestling. Max Andrews hired me as his referee and give me my job, and he's the same man that pays me pays you.
Wait just a minute. Max Andrews needed some referees. You couldn't wrestle. Your father's been around here, and he's always did what he was supposed to do. He was okay guy. So I recommended you. But it appears that I made a mistake, Jamie, because you're not ready to get in the ring and referee.
I am refereeing. I call it just like I see it, right down the middle. And you ain't my boss. You can't fire me.
You can find out what I can fire you or not, Jamie. You're not going to get back in the ring.
Oh, I'm going to referee.
You're not going to referee.
You're not going to fire me.
Well, you wait and see,
You're not going to fire me.
Jamie. You're right. He ain't going to fire
See,
me.
you ain't firing me.
You're absolutely right.
You ain't firing me.
You know why?
Yeah, because you
just
said
quit.
so.
No, you just quit something.
No, I didn't.
So
I didn't quit.
Oh, yeah, you
No,
quit.
you can't quit for me, man. I didn't quit.
Jamie, please. You stood there, talked to the woman, wasn't paying attention. I don't know what got into you. I don't know what so just take the shirt off and let me hug
No, I ain't quit. You can't quit for me, and this man can't fire me. I was hired by Max Andrews. No, I didn't
going
quit.
into you. Going on like your mama today, I don't know, but you have quit.
That's another reason. That's why my mama left, because if it don't go your way, it don't go at all. Well, we ain't putting up with that. No, you ain't. And another reason, you ain't whooping me. You ain't whooping me. I should have done this. That's maybe my fault how you ain't whooping me. I should have done this. I'm too big and I'm too old. And you get out here, Bill.
Let's take a break.
Love this, y'all. Absolutely. This is Memphis wrestling. You talk about that interview backstage. This right here, I hate you. Just fantastic. Fantastic. Was this before or after they were in Knoxville? Was this after it or during? Yeah.
Knoxville was 88.
Yeah, so you're talking Jamie was real young when they did Knoxville. So, but yeah, good stuff.
Good. I mean, Jamie's already a great talker here. He's in the era where he had the coonskin cap looking hairdo. I can't hardly get past. But yeah, like you said, this is classic Memphis. And to me, I'm thinking as I watched this the first time last week, the irony that these two would end up on Jerry Springer together. Because this felt like something straight out of that. What'd you think about it, Josh?
Yeah, but dude, it's to the people that are watching that show live that morning. That is the ultimate thing that could have happened, because that's an era where he needs his ass whipped. Like any of our grandmothers would have said that. Like, and the payoff happened on TV by the father. And that, dude, that's such good shit.
I mean, Bill gets that belt in his hand, and Jamie immediately starts talking, "You ain't gonna whoop me! You ain't gonna whoop me!" And he snatches him up and he whoops him. I mean, how many times has that played out in people's houses all across? Everybody who's watching at home, everybody who's in the studio, who had either been the parent that was the one doing the whooping, or the kid that said, "You ain't gonna whoop me," and then did. But if you watch Jamie's face when he turns to the camera right after Bill had whooped him, he looks like he's about to cry. I mean, Bill laid it in on him pretty good. I think that I hate you stuff he might have been feeling that for real at that very moment, because Bill lit him up. It was great. I knew that's where this thing was headed with the referee angle, but I was thinking it took a couple of weeks. But no, we get it, right here in the same episode. And like I said, Jamie's dropping Max Andrews' name left and right in this promo. Eddie Marlin did pretty good this time, other than he stumbled on some words a couple of times there, but this was a great segment. It really was.
I thought so too. Just loved it every minute of it.
He said, it's not Eddie Marlin wrestling. Well, I think that pissed him off because 2 years later, he lets the world know who the star of the show is.
Yeah.
It is Eddie Marlin wrestling up here. So now we get a 6-man tag team match of perhaps the world's shortest 6-man tag team, other than maybe if they ever had a midget match. Bill Dundee and the New Kids taking on the Dirty White Boy, Doug Gilbert, and Brian Lee. Of course, this is the Uptown Connection here. And with no referees left, because apparently Eddie just fired his last and only referee that he had here today, Eddie Marlin is going to step in the ring to be the ref. Dude, there must have been nobody that, like, TD Steele wasn't around. If Eddie Marlin is going to referee a match on television, this is our last resort. I mean, there wasn't even a security guard that we could have put a striped shirt on. We're like, hey, man, let's go take care of this for me. So Eddie Marlin steps up in the ring. Dr. Tom Pritchard decides to join commentary and bury the baby faces and puts over Jamie for being a man and standing up to his father. Outside interference eventually turns this match into just a cluster, but Jamie's back out here with the belt, laying in on his dad. It was a wild segment coming right out of the one we just had. What did you think about this match?
So, am I remembering correctly? The entire dressing rooms, on both sides, emptied and got into the ring, right? That's just really weird because a lot of these people didn't have any conflict at all, and they just came in and just, man, let's fucking start beating these people up. Like Keith Eric showed up. What the fuck was he doing out there?
I wrote, is that Keith? I wrote that. Is that Keith during that brawl? I was like, fuck, what happened?
Just a week or two before, I think 2 weeks in a row, he was on the babyface side. And then all of a sudden, he just comes out and starts beating people up. It was really weird.
He's tired of this shit. Y'all didn't know that. He was tired of that shit. I like this. I really do. This is the 6-man tag. I wrote, what the fuck's going on with Doug's hair? So he had like the weirdest haircut. The sides, I don't ever remember him having a haircut.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was a result of a match or anything, but
that's what I was wondering. So
no, that was his choice he made at the time, apparently. So.
Terry Garvin convinced him, all the young kids his age.
There you go. There you
go. Let me practice my haircutting on you. So I don't know if I'm right on the placement of this, but somewhere in here, Eddie Gilbert comes back out and he starts cutting a promo on Lawler. And now Lawler comes back out, and now we got another fight on here with Gilbert and Lawler. Right. They throw down, and we have to get everybody to break them up again. And we'll see what that leads to here in just a little bit. This is an interesting promo. Jeff Jarrett and the U.S. Males are teaming up this week.
Oh, Lord.
Curtis Thompson and Chris Walker vow to deliver special packages to Doug Gilbert and Dirty White Boy. I don't know if I like the sound of that.
Good God.
Oh, man. I bet they did deliver some on the loop before.
Come on over to Nashville with a couple of them packages, honey.
Oh, my God. He would have had a heart attack.
Yeah, I think it's for his own good that he is not in the USWA right now. I just don't know if he can stand it. But Jarrett cuts a solid promo on Steve Austin and Jeannie, saying she's no lady. And that brings Jeannie out. And there they are squaring off face to face. And I don't know. This is a good way to get heat on this match with him and Austin, is let Jeff and Jeannie tie up out here and take a few shots back and forth here on the promo. Then that brings Austin out, and we get our fourth pull apart of the day here. Every time anybody steps into the interview area over here, well, this is going to end when they have to
battle
break up the
zone.
fight.
Yeah.
But again, it's that real life shit. Like, how many times have you seen a girl cause a fucking melee? It's like something she says, or I'm not saying what Jeff was saying was, like all good, but she came out to defend herself, and then what happened, you know?
Yeah.
He pretty much said he'd whoop a bitch if they slap him. So that's what Jarrett was trying to say. He just couldn't get it out. Jeff is the transformation just for the 2 years that we've been doing this is like, go back and we'll look at that Jeff, his body and this body here. It's just crazy, the difference. But Jeff still, that hair, the whole thing. Yeah, look how slim he is there. I don't know if he's that small now. I don't think he's ever been that small again. But yeah, I thought it was funny because the U.S. males moved out of the way so they could do this angle. Did y'all notice that?
Yeah. And then when everything started popping off, I mean, like, they're just standing over there watching usually you'd pull the guys apart, but like, no, they're going to handle business. Like, we're just standing here.
Eddie Marlin just told us to get in that line about our packages and then just get out of the way. So that's what they did, exactly as they were told. So big 6-man tag team action here in the main event. Jeff Jarrett and the U.S. males versus Keith Eric, Eli the Eliminator, and Sergeant O'Reilly. So boy, what a turn things have taken for Eli the Eliminator. Last week he was out here. They're the new bad guys in town, and they're going to be a force. And now he's teaming with Keith Eric and Sergeant O'Reilly. It's not looking good for Eli the Eliminator.
He said, "What the hell did I do? Jesus!"
Like, well, your partner got fired, so here you are. So this is a pretty solid 6-man tag match. It's the first match in a little while now that didn't end in a huge calamity or pull apart. So Jeff Jarrett gets the pin on O'Reilly after the crossbody off the top rope, and we kind of calm things down here.
We got that big Sarge O'Reilly backdrop too, y'all. He had to do that at least once a match, so we got that. It was a fun match for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I figured that the big, everybody, the whole dressing room's emptying. That would happen at this point, not before. Maybe timing wise they were screwed up or something, but yeah, I thought that was this should have been reversed maybe.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, and but as I thought about it, I was making notes. I was like, well, we were just complaining recently about ending the match with big melee, so maybe they thought, well, let's throw them a curve. Let's have the melee earlier, and then we'll have the main event just end with a pin. Of course, it also may have just been that, hey, we need Jeff to get this clean pin in here and let everybody see what he's all about.
Right.
So Southern Champ gets it done, and U.S. males are going to be bringing those packages for Doug and Dirty White Boy this week. So
they probably don't do return to sender.
No thanks.
All I can think of is Garvin giving that haircut to Doug now. I wish I would have never said anything.
Look, you need to get them sides shaved off or some shit. All the kids are doing it. Like, just convincing them.
Doug looks at it and goes, man, I don't know about that,
And then if Robert Fuller's over there, oh, he done messed you up, Dougie. He done messed your head up, Dougie. Good Lord.
Write that question down. Anonymous listener wants to know what the hell with the haircut in 1991. The next episode you do with Q&A. So.
I wouldn't cut my dog's hair like that after I whooped his ass.
I wouldn't cut old Bob's hair. God, that's great.
Well, let's see what this has all been building towards and hear what the card's going to be for Monday night.
To check some of the action coming up, all of the action, as a matter of fact, coming up Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum. 7:30, of course, is when it all begins, and regular prices are in effect. That's important because, let's see here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 big matches on the card, and wait till you hear the folks that are going to be involved in those matches. The opening match of the night, the New Kids. Boy, Michael, I don't know how much you've been able to see the new kids. I know you've seen them wrestle some, but they really look good, and I think the new kids may, in fact, be part of the wave of the future in the USWA.
I think you're right.
Brian and Tony will be going against Terry Garvin and Eli the Eliminator, a formidable tag team. They don't wrestle together that much as a tag team, but they're a couple of rugged individuals, and you put them together, and you better watch out all around. The new kids, Brian and Tony, going against Terry Garvin and Eli the Eliminator. Then it's going to be a single match, and this one I beg your pardon. All right, it's going to be Steve Dane and going against Danny Davis in a single match. All right, Steve Dane against Danny Davis. Then in the next match, it'll be Tom Pritchard going against Cody Michaels. All right, we may be missing some of these. Let's go on, and we'll come back and catch up if we need to. Tom Pritchard will be going against Cody Michaels. You saw the doctor out here a little bit earlier going against Jerry Lynn, and he, in fact, got himself a victory in that particular match. Eric Embry will be going against Jerry Lynn at the Mid-South Coliseum Monday night in a single match. Superstar Bill Dundee will go against Primetime Brian Lee. Then, following that, it's going to be a grudge tag team battle. And in this one, the U.S. males, Curtis Thompson and Chris Walker, will be going against the Dirty White Boy and Dirty Doug Gilbert. They'll have Uptown Bruno in their corner. That's the first of the tag team action Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum. Then we'll go back to a single match. In this one, the Southern Heavyweight Championship will be on the line. Stunning Steve Austin. He will be out here a little bit later on today, Michael.
And he'll be with Jeannie, who is quite a factor with Mr. Austin.
Absolutely. And Jeannie will be at the Mid-South Coliseum Monday night, too. Stunning Steve Austin challenging for the Southern Heavyweight title, which is held by Jeff Jarrett. That should be a most interesting match. Main event anywhere right there. But that's not all. Another grudge match. Why? Well, you don't even have to ask why when you see what has happened so far here today in the videotape earlier and then what just happened out here moments ago. The grudge battle of the year is shaping up, and the year is young, but this may very well end up being the grudge battle of all of 1991.
Couple things, and we're going to take a commercial break so y'all can mull over your answers to the questions. But the first one being, they misspelled Jarrett.
I saw that. Yep.
If you can't get the boss's son's name spelt right, I don't know what we're doing. That's a good way to lose your job, putting the chyrons up. And then what a big deal here. It's the biggest feud of 1991 as we're easing into February. So let's see if they can hold on to that here throughout the year. But right now, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what you guys thought about this show.
Tired of the same boring wrestling podcast? Need something with attitude, chaos, and maybe just a little cussing? That's STSpod.club, and we got it all covered. We've got wrestling weirdness with WTF News Desk, 5-minute time limit, and the Southern fried brain of me, BT, stirring the whole ship. We also have rolling into Memphis every week about the current Memphis wrestling. Interviews, hot takes, and wrestling outrageousness so wild it might get you banned in 12 states. That's right, it's SDSpod.club, or search all podcast catchers for Shooting the Shiznit, where wrestling podcasts grow chest hair. Not sure what that meant. Love my mama.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen if you know what's good for you.
Well, all right, guys, it's that time again. What did you think about this show? What was your least favorite part of this show?
I've got to go with the 2 in a row 6-man tag action. I've just, tag teams are all right, but once you start adding like 3 and 4 guys on each side, I'm not a big fan of that type of stuff. And again, we was kind of critiquing it a little bit before, but yeah, the big, if you got a Memphis formula chart handy, like if somebody made one, then the big chaos at the end as the show's going out, that's when it's supposed to happen. And they kind of, like we talked about, kind of probably should have swapped that and had the show going off with the big chaotic ending, everybody in the dressing room coming out. But no, maybe Jarrett just wanted to close it out with the clean pin, like you were saying. But I wasn't that big of a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be, and I'm being really picky. I thought this was one of the better shows that we watched. I put another 6-man tag, is what I put in. I guess not both of them, but just the idea that we have another 6-man tag. I think it's funny that we had so many workers, but no referees. That cracked me up to see 12 guys in 2 matches, but we don't have no referees. But yeah, that's probably, but I watched the 2 6-man tags, because I knew a couple of guys, and just to see what they were doing, like Sarge and Keith Eric and Brian Lee, just watching those guys, again, from back then.
This wasn't my least favorite part of the show, but I forgot to mention it a minute ago. It just popped in my head. When he was running down the card and Dave announced the new kids versus Eli the Eliminator and Terry Garvin, he said, it's not a team that has teamed up a lot. And I'm thinking, this ain't a team that's ever teamed up. But the next thing he said, he goes, the new kids better watch out. These guys are a couple of rugged individuals. Now, you can call Eli the Eliminator rugged, but I think of all words that would describe Terry Garvin you're going to use, I don't think rugged would be in the top 500. But
rugged haircut. He gives him rugged haircuts. It's what he does.
All right. So now let's hear, what was your favorite part of today's episode?
The referee angle and the way that it ended up with Bill whooping that ass with a belt live on television. Like I said, that's somebody, like, I feel like Richard's memo, if she watched that, even she would have been a wrestling fan that day, because it was Southern justice was delivered with that. The dad getting the revenge for everybody that day. I love it. One of my most favorite things that I've reviewed so far with either year.
Nice.
Just good stuff. Good stuff. I gotta agree, that was good. My favorite part is gonna have to be Eddie and Lawler, though. Just always was a huge fan of this feud and what they would do. The biggest crowd I ever attended in Jonesboro at a small arena. I did get one at ASU one time with Bert Prentice, did 800 people, but one of those 1,200 people in this building that usually seated, 400 is what the regular attendance was, anywhere from 200 to 400, was Lawler against Gilbert, and it's something special there. There was always something special with those two guys. And, that big-ass fireball, man, I loved all that. I really did. And I like the idea that they didn't really get to talk about it, except for Monday night. I like the idea that these guys really got heat, and they both dressed up to have heat. So there you go.
Got that Easter heat. But,
yeah. Sunday, that's what they were battling at church. Is what they were doing. Yeah.
That was came out of church. Shit, is that Eddie Gilbert over there? Oh, fuck! And he runs over and just squares off. But all right. So all that being said, would you guys buy a ticket to go see this card Monday night?
I don't know if I'm going to waste it on this one. Like I said, I like everything that's brewing, but one thing that stood out to me whenever they were going over the card, even at the end of the show, after everything had developed, out of I think Dave said 8 matches, it seems like only 2 that I can remember actually had any kind of priors with each other. A lot of it is just this guy versus this guy. Now, shit's probably going to happen Monday night, but you're not advertising it. And I'm just, you know, it seems like there needs to be a little bit more plugged in with each other in terms of the storylines and stuff, instead of just this guy versus this guy.
I'm going just because, and I don't know if it was because of kind of like what Josh is saying. He said he wouldn't
what
go.
Curtis and Chris Walker said.
Exactly. That's what got me going. I was
Gotta see that package.
I got to see the package, but it's just the idea that I know the future with Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it's like, I want to go see this match. My question is did these guys ever work in USWA against each other? Or do y'all know? Or is this going to be the very first Jarrett Austin match ever?
I'd have to think they squared off in Dallas before this.
I meant to email Jeff last night just to see if we got the response by this morning.
Yeah, I even seen Eddie Marlin on the card in Dallas at one point.
Right.
Yeah.
Michael St. John, the reason I'm going to the Mid-South Coliseum, though, is that Michael St. John had said a comment about he hopes there's seat belts so that everyone can be seated in their seats. Seat belts in the Coliseum, and that's what made me want to go right there. I was like,
you wanted to be strapped in, huh?
Strapped in and waiting on a big package. There you go.
There you go.
Saturday night at the Trammell House. Woo!
Yeah. This would have been a Monday night, though. February the 11th, 1991 at the Mid-South Coliseum. They say that it drew 1,000 people for a gate of 5,200. So that would mean our $5,000 gate was, under 1,000 people last week. Opening match saw the new kids, Brian Christopher and Tony Williams, beat Eli the Eliminator and Keith Eric. The word in the dirt sheets was that Terry Garvin was not happy with the way he's being used and quit. So,
oh, wow.
Keith Eric has to stand in there.
And we know that that's not true. It was Doug was pissed off at him for the haircut.
Yeah.
There you go.
He better get the hell out of Dodge.
Another time when I don't know who was providing Meltzer with all them fucking results back in 1991. Probably some Mark.
Superstar Bill Dundee beat Brian Lee via disqualification. I would like to think Jamie probably had something to do with that, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out next week, perhaps. In the third match, Dirty Doug Gilbert beat Nightmare Danny Davis. And I don't remember who Danny was originally scheduled to wrestle, but it wasn't
Steve
Doug.
Dane.
Yeah,
Steve Dane.
Who the hell was that?
He started in Texas as Steve Casey, and then he went away. And somewhere along the way, he became Steve Dane, but the blonde-headed guy.
He worked Southwest, didn't he? For Hernandez, with Hernandez.
Yeah.
Blanchard.
Eventually,
yeah,
eventually ended up in Global and all that. I even did a short stint in WCW to little or no fanfare. Fourth match, Dr. Tom Pritchard beat Cody Michaels. Flamboyant Eric Embry pinned Jerry Lynn. The U.S. males, Curtis Thompson and Chris Walker, beat Doug Gilbert and Tony Anthony via disqualification. In your semi-main event, Southern Heavyweight Champion Jeff Jarrett beat Steve Austin via disqualification. And in your main event, Jerry the King Lawler beat Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert via disqualification. Yes, folks, out of 8 matches, 4 of them ended in a DQ. Welcome to Memphis.
Got to keep the heat going, y'all. That's the reason we have.
I don't know how you keep it going with all those damn DQs, honestly. But
I'm glad it didn't go now.
Yeah. When I
would
was
have been pissed
together, I was right down the car. I was like, DQ. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? God. So I just don't remember. But I mean, back then I was just seeing the TV. You didn't see all the results, in front of you like this. Right. You just hear Hey, let's see highlights from last week. So you really wasn't aware of how every match was ending, but I don't see how you could draw a crowd if they think it don't matter till they get in a cage or some stipulation that's going to force a finish. We're not going to see any kind of ending, so why bother? But the Jerry Lawler Eddie Gilbert feud is up and running. I'm assuming since Jeff and Steve Austin ended in DQ, we're going to see more of that. Same with the U.S. males versus the Uptown connection of downtown Uptown Bruno. We'll see how long that Uptown Bruno thing lasts. I'm sure it'll last till somebody tears his tuxedo, and then we're gonna have to call it quits on that one.
Not gonna buy another one.
No. That was a lucky, probably lucky flea market find or thrift store find if I had to guess.
And he's like, "Look, it's only 2 sizes off."
Terry
That hat absolutely swallows him.
Yes. That's the thing that makes it look just the silliest is the damn hat. But it works. It's heat, I guess. All right. Well, that's going to about do it for this week's show. So what do we got to look forward to on this week's P3 Radio?
Well, I'm ready. You want me to tell you?
Yeah. You can
5 out of 5. Really good show this week. 5 out of 5 hoots on P3 Radio. Remember, P3 Radio is the podcast that features Josh and Richard. They watch videos at the end of the show, but never put a link. You don't have no idea what the hell they're watching. Episode 420, if you know what I mean. Richard played a bunch of old sound drops to start an exciting episode. They also had a conversation before the mics, but they never shared with us what they were talking about. There was some exciting talk about clouds. Richard does not understand vacuum packed cheese that's like Velveeta. He doesn't get that. Josh's dog would rather lick his own ass than eat Velveeta. And the way Josh talked about it, he might lick his own ass than eat Velveeta also. By the way, I'm a big Velveeta fan. Not a big fan of licking anyone's ass, though. Richard made some funny Hitler jokes. Those are always funny, y'all. Josh was telling a story, and Richard was yawning. We found out that Gene Hackman, when he died, his dog was in a kennel, and the dog's name was Rat Shit. Man, that was one of the worst stories y'all ever did that had me laughing and crying and saying, man, this probably a jackpot, baby, jackpot. They did they talked about their personal masturbation methods. That's just pretty much what they talked about. You don't remember that one?
Josh is like, I don't remember this show at all.
Richard's depressed, and that might be why he's missing today, but he also wanted to point out that black people are better athletes. He talked about doing stand-up.
No, I gotta cut you off. He did point it out to a fucking crowd, and they acted like he had like a horn coming out or something. Like he said something that wasn't true. Like,
yeah, he did it at stand-up, and they was like, oh, well, speaking of his stand-up, he kept talking about he did not understand why his joke bombed. Well, I know why the joke bombed, Richard. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. Old guy, he talks about some old guy who's 55. I'm fucking 58. Come on, guys. Come on. Richard in the house. I love the house story. It continues every episode. Y'all need to put together a whole thing when he fixes the house. Just house stories.
Yeah, you should have been there shooting video on all this and made a YouTube series out of it.
90 bags of trash, he said. It's going to be brought out of that house. We did some videos at the very end, which was Lotto winner fighting cops, which is funny. And then I'll tease this one. There's a tattoo sleeve that someone ends up with after the person dies. So you got to listen to that. And by the way, just so everybody knows, Richard doesn't understand the difference between a pallbearer and people that work at the funeral home. He has no idea what that is. So there we go.
They were the embalmers.
P3 Radio episode 420, guys.
Whew. The shows are only slightly longer than BT's review of them, folks. There's a lot of stuff jam-packed in there. I can only imagine that show must have lasted like 8 hours.
No,
to hear BT tell.
Keep writing shit down every time they say something.
And speaking of BT, make sure you check out stspod.club. What do you have going on this week, BT?
Oh, we did Shiznit Minute every day, stspod.club. Follow one of our social media. We just did episode 975, which is episode 234 of Memphis Wrestling. We also, Gene and I, did WTF this past Thursday live. It went very well. It was a fun show. And this week, I keep talking about the G1. Well, we do which I can't believe I'm saying this, but our 9th annual G1 top 10 performers. So we've been watching that G1 for 9 years now, every match, and then giving our top 10 performers. That'll be a live stream on Wednesday afternoon, I believe.
All right, good deal. A lot of good stuff going on there. Also, check out USWApodcast.com for all the different social media links, merch, everything related to this show can be found right there at USWApodcast.com. For all things related to the Dangerous Conversations with Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich podcast, you can find them at DougGilbertPodcast.com. Also, check out WrestleCopia.com for all of Ray Russell's wonderful wrestling content, and there's a lot of it, folks. Get over there to WrestleCopia.com and check that out. And also, go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Retro Wrestling Archives. There's almost 3,800 videos there now. Old matches, old full shows of old territory days. Lots of podcast content. You can check out some of my newer shows that have developed recently. The Memphis in Minutes, UWF Fury Cast is back after a 2-year hiatus. And of course, you can find P3 Radio on there as well. You can find Was It Really That Good? And some other shows from STS Pod that are popping up over there and doing really well. So,
Gene, I just want to tell everyone thank you real quick for that, because you're putting those up. I appreciate you doing that, and I appreciate the new people listening to it. You can see them migrating over to try to listen to more episodes of that before we actually release them. But you're talking about episodes that were just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Every once in a while, when you'd get a new listener, you'd have people going through the archives. But mainly a lot of people that join will go through 3 months of archives. So you're talking, these are old episodes, and we've taken the commercials out of them. We've very little theme song, no BS. And, one of them got 95, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of views for something that was just sitting around doing nothing. So,
yeah, for 5-6-year-old podcast episode, whatever it is. I had somebody message me the other day saying, "Hey, you and BT should review so-and-so next." I'm like, well, we're not currently doing that show. Those are old episodes. Like, I've been thinking these were new shows dropping every week. I'm like, well, you can think that, but they're not. But that's the good thing about these podcasts where review old shows. They're kind of evergreen, as long as you don't mix in a bunch of talk about current stuff, people can pick them up, list them anytime, and it doesn't feel old. Because the show they're reviewing is old. So what does it matter, right? Also, check out our friends at EPWWrestlingMS.com. I was just at a big show. They had Mantachi last night. Former WWE superstar Kalisto was there. What a great guy. He was super cool. They return to Boonville this Saturday night. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, they'll be back at the EPW Arena for another TV taping this Saturday night with ECW legend Tommy Dreamer in the house. So make sure you check that out. And also, folks, I'm begging you. We have yet to. We're a few episodes into this season, and nobody has called 256 Egg Iron. We've got no messages, no love. So please, somebody, anybody, Robert Fuller, if you're listening, leave us a message, pal. We'd really appreciate it.
We'd like to know what the hell happened, buddy. You came out one show and then you left.
Even if Bert would check in and tell us what he would do if he was here to see the U.S. males in person, just anybody, give us a call and we will run it right here on the show.
We're feeding
as soon
it.
as possible. Anything else, guys, before we wrap this one up?
That's it. Thanks a lot for letting me be pinch hitter again. And as everyone knows, I love my mama.
Well, we expect to probably see you again soon, BT. But as far as I know, Richard Mulligan returns next week. For all those big Richard Mulligan fans that are out there clamoring for his return, he should be back next week. And, of course, sooner or later, we'll see BT again. And, you know, you'll usually always see me and Josh here each and every week for another episode of the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast.